Hi there everyone, Lars here with some more writing advice and insight, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And my topic for today is a very touchy one to address, but I need to talk about it. It is character resurrection. This popular comic book trope is widely disliked by many people because they argue it takes away the stakes and consequences of conflicts and character decisions. That unless death is permanent, what's the point of even killing off your characters? If they don't stay dead, then it doesn't mean anything. This point of view has become increasingly popular in the wake of Game of Thrones, and people in the writing community who really want to emulate the antics of George R.R. Martin, who take his word for gospel. But just because Martin likes killing off half of his cast every book doesn't mean that that is the right thing to do. Furthermore, if you say that character deaths have no value if the resurrection option is on the table, then you are missing the point! When written well, any character death, whether permanent or temporary, has incredible impact on the story and the rest of the cast. Here are just some examples of what we can consider to be some really great moments that are defined by a temporary character death. For example, from the Wheel of Time, the fact that everyone will eventually be reincarnated and that Rand in particular must live life after life fighting evil is very important. It forms a large part of the world's lore and puts the poor young man into a horrible situation where he must confront death and failure. Again and again, there's literally a scene in the book where he has to die multiple times across multiple timelines and come back to life just to die again. This means that he has a lot to unpack, and overcoming the depression and desperation of his reality is essential to his character growth and his ability to face the Dark One at the end of the series. We then actually get another very interesting example of a character resurrection in the movie Princess Mononoke. Prince Ashitaka is brought back from the dead by the spirit of the forest. It is done because he must continue working through his curse, which is what ends up saving everyone at the end of the movie. And being brought back from the dead helps teach Ashitaka a very harsh lesson, and it begins the romance between him and San. And it is one of the most touching parts in the whole movie. So hence this character resurrection really does a lot to set up a romance, help a character to go through some very necessary progression, and also bring some much needed relief and beauty to an otherwise very dark story. And yes, let's talk Gandalf, George R.R. Martin. You've suggested that Tolkien made a big mistake bringing Gandalf back from the dead, and that it got rid of so many stakes within the story. Well, number one, Boromir isn't brought back from the dead, and plenty of other heroes die as well throughout the story. Death is present. It's not that anyone can be brought back, but Gandalf is. And number two, Gandalf is a Maiar, meaning that the rules of death work slightly differently for him in the first place. And number three, his resurrection is meant to bring hope to the heroes and pave the way for their victory. Literally, without Gandalf, it doesn't work. And the fact that Gandalf could be killed shows just how bad the situation is. That the evils that the heroes are facing are just that powerful that even a mighty character like Gandalf can be defeated. It does the story a huge service to show Gandalf fall. It helps to lead to the breaking of the Fellowship. It helps to establish a real genuine threat from Sauron. And it goes to show just how far the heroes have to travel, what kind of sacrifices they must make in order to beat the ultimate evil. There are honestly a ton of other good examples for character resurrections, but this video is not just about listing these things off. The point I want to make is that character resurrections can be very good, but there are some things that you need to consider before pursuing this dangerous literary path. The first is that you need to ask yourself, why did I kill this character in the first place? Did you kill her off because she stole a cursed object? Did you kill him off because he had to sacrifice himself to save his buddies? Did you kill her as she took down the big baddie, like as a noble sacrifice? Did you murder him because he was a scumbag and he deserved it? Character deaths should be important. You can kill scores of people in your stories, but these deaths need to have weight and meaning. Whether that be for the narrative, or for the cast, or for the themes of your story, this is important to consider. Because if your character didn't need to die to get the point across, then bringing them back to life does lessen the stakes of your story. Secondly, why are you bringing this character back? Is it just to make sure that your favorite romantic ship sets sail? Is it because you feel guilty for killing them in the first place? Or are you bringing them back because you have to in order for the rest of the group to win? Bringing characters back to life carries a ton of weight to that action. Resurrection must complement what you have done previously in the story, and it must properly continue character arcs, carrying themes through to their conclusion, addressing deeper issues, and essentially it has to elevate the story rather than just fill a hole in our hearts. And sadly, the weight of convincing your audience that this resurrection is needed rests on you. You have to convince your audience that this resurrection was indeed necessary and that the death beforehand was also necessary. Thirdly, you must have a good in-world explanation for bringing people back to life. Granted, many of these come across as weird and dumb. This is why your world building has to be on point. Lay clues to potential resurrection throughout your story. Don't just pull it out of thin air. Even a quest to bring someone back to life should be preceded by various stories, legends, or tidbits about bringing people back to life. Characters can dismiss that all as fantasy until they themselves find that they have a need to bring their loved ones back to life. This can make a story feel very rewarding, and it makes sure that your audience story clued in that this might potentially be something that can be done. Fourthly, follow through with the consequences of bringing someone back to life. How have people felt and dealt with the previous loss? And those coming back to life, they're missing time. There is grief to deal with, unforeseen consequences, etc. Even Gandalf coming back highlights the loss of Boromir and the urgency of completing the quest because Sauron and Saruman have seized the initiative and are getting ready to win the whole war. So don't forget the consequences of bringing someone back to life. Bearing all of this in mind will help you write much better character resurrections. Granted, not everyone will agree with your decision to bring a character back to life, and not everyone will agree with my take in this video. You have to do, though, what is best for your story. If using the resurrection trope is what is best, then please do it. Just do it well. Even people who dislike the trope still enjoy comics, enjoy The Lord of the Rings, and plenty of similar stories. If you would like an example of me going way deeper into this trope and how it can be well executed, please check out my video, Pyrrha Will Return, How and Why. There I go into great detail about one of the biggest deaths in the series RWBY, and the world building and themes and characters that all tie into the resurrection trope there in that series. And if there's another death and resurrection in a story that you want me to tackle in a separate video, please sound off in the comments. I'd be more than happy because this is a very controversial trope to use, and sometimes it helps to see what others have done well and what they have done horribly in the past so we can learn how best to use it. So that will do it for me in this video. Thanks for joining us on this adventure that we call writing. If you're looking for more writing advice, please check out our other videos or head on over to our podcast, Camille's Harem, found on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, the works. You can also engage with us over at our Discord or our subreddit. Links are in the description. Finally, if you would like to support us, please drop us a like and a comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already for more amazing videos on writing. Also, I have just published my first novel, Knights of Halicruise, a portal fantasy story of two teenagers who are pulled into a world where their imagination could become their reality. Sounds like a dream, only this world is mired in a civil war fought between others with the exact same powers. An incredible journey of magic, heroism, and self-discovery awaits. So please check out Knights of Halicruise on Amazon. Again, link is in the description. Thanks again, everybody. And until the next video, y'all, tschüss.